outside his headlines. Gerhard Berger of Austria, flat out in the McLaren Honda. Gerhard, early in the session, he was down in about 12th place, but then he put in a quick one and did a 1:17.227 to be fastest. Provisionally, he lines up alongside Nigel Mansell on the front row of the grid. Then it's Patrese, Senna, Martini, Modena and Alesi.
And Berger's about to enter the Peralta curve, 160 miles an hour, fifth gear, holding the car tight into the curbing all the way through the inside. Now the car drifts out to the curb. It's going to take sixth gear. And now the long run all the way down to this tight second gear hairpin at the end of the straight. The McLaren Honda reaching almost 195 miles an hour.
Thanks, John. Yes, well, Gerhard coming down into the braking area now for the very tight right-hander. And just look at that change of surface. His hands are blur at the wheel. And after that session, I was able to talk to Gerhard about his flying lap.
Yes, you have to get the car right if you want to be quickest, and it took a little bit time today.
What about that pole position lap? Perfect or near perfect?
Near perfect, but I think the more it's quicker, rubber comes down and then it will be quicker, so it starts again front. But anyway, the car wasn't bad. I had a clear lap, I had no traffic. So, like usual, if you are quickest, it went right.
How are you coping with all the bumps?
Difficult.
Physically on you?
All right. I mean, you feel the air here. You feel it in air, in the engine and in yourself. But everybody have the same problem.
Another sensation of practice was this man, Piero Martini, in the Minardi from Italy. For the first half of the session, he was fastest. Finally, he finished up in fifth spot. And after the qualifying, I talked to him about that effort.
Yeah, I am happy for my car, and because we have worked a lot for this race, and now we have found a good balance for the car, and I am happy.
What about tomorrow? Can you go quicker tomorrow?
But, I think that we can do some better, but we have a Cosworth engine, and it is very difficult to go down off this time. I try, and I think that something I can found.
Hello and welcome to Saturday at the Mexican Grand Prix. Final qualifying coming up. John Watson, your comments so far?
Well, so far we've had a very strange day. Friday we had Gerhard Berger on pole. That may not be strange. Nigel Mansell second. But Ayrton Senna was back in fourth place. Now that's the most unusual thing I've seen happen at a Grand Prix for a very long time. And basically, both the McLaren Hondas have been having a problem getting the balance of their car right on this circuit in Mexico. The trouble is, they want to run a lot of downforce on the car to get it round the back side of the circuit, the very bumpy, twisty side. But down the straight, the cars are slow. Even the horsepower the Honda engine produces isn't enough to overcome the drag of the downforce they're having to get on the car through the wings.
Another big story here this weekend is about the Glass Lamborghini. That's the Mexican financed Formula One car being built by Lamborghini Engineering. The car was supposed to be demonstrated here on Sunday, but the big story is that the man behind the project, Mr. Gonzalez Luna, has disappeared. Lamborghini have got checks that have bounced, and the whole thing seems to be a very big mess. But there is one Mexican who's been around Grand Prix racing for a long time. He's now the coordinator at McLaren. His name's Joe Ramirez, and I talked to him a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, sure. It's always nice to go back home, especially for a Grand Prix. We had a very long period without a Grand Prix, and it's nice to be back there, and I hope to stay there for a few years to come.
Of course, the circuit's named Hermanos Rodriguez, the Rodriguez brothers, and you work with both of them. Tell us a little bit about those two famous drivers.
Well, they were very good, as you know, and very different between them. Ricardo was the youngest one, and he was always the quickest one of the two. When they used to get together, when we used to drive together, Pedro used to try very hard because Ricardo was more natural driver, and he was always quicker than Pedro, and very often Pedro used to go off the road because of it. Later on, when Ricardo went in, was Pedro on his own, he was more relaxed, and then Pedro started to get very, very good on his own ride. Very good race, wet driver.
Of course, you worked with Ricardo Rodriguez back a very long time ago. It must be almost 25 years.
That's right, even more, in 1961, when Ricardo started driving for Ferrari, and I came into England in 62, into Italy, 62 with Ricardo.
What about Pedro? You later worked with him, of course, with John Wyer's GT40 team.
Yes, sure, very much. Pedro was a bit more reserved, and he was older than me. I was the same age as Ricardo, and with Ricardo we were friends for a long time. Ricardo was a much easier person. Pedro was more reserved, but he was a very good driver.
Of course, your heart now is very red and white with McLaren as a team coordinator. You're really just looking forward to Senna winning.
Oh, for sure. I think with Senna on your side, a good car, if we haven't got any mechanical failure, I think he ought to win the race.
Joe Ramirez then of McLaren International. Coming up next, technical file. Years ago, of course, all the timing was done off the pit road. The girlfriends with the stopwatches. It's very different these days. It's all computerized. So we delve into the mysteries of the Longines Olivetti timing system. Gigi, in the last 10 years, timekeeping has changed tremendously because of Longines and your partners, Olivetti. What is the big difference really now? Because I understand the signals come from the cars.
Yes, the signal comes to the cars because each car has a particular transmitter in very high technology. Is a big difference when we are start 10 years ago with this system is a manual system, and now is everything is automatic system with this transmission in the car that will receive each transit in 3 points in different circuits.
What is the relationship between yourselves doing the actual timekeeping and Olivetti, who of course do the computers?
But the relationship is Longines is responsible for the timing, for all the relevation about the cars. And Olivetti is responsible for the data processing to distribute all the results all in the world to the Formula One, like monitor, like press, television, everywhere.
For us in the television, it is a fantastic help. And the thing that surprises me always is how quickly the times come up. It seems the car crosses the line and within a second we have the time.
Yes, this is possible because everything is automatic. When the car transited the finish line, about less 1 second, we have all this information about the car. The number, the time, name of the driver, sure, everything.
Do you ever have any problems?
A lot of problems, yes, but we try, don't see in the world.
In our commentary box, we have a monitor. How many other monitors are there around the circuit? There seem to be an awful lot.
Well, it depends. Normally, each car has a monitor. For each team, 3, 4 monitors. And for the TV commentator in Europe, we are 51 monitors only for the TV commentator and about 30 monitors in the press center and 150 VIP paddock club, motorhome, everywhere.
Is there any further progress you can make, or is this the way it's going to stay for some years now?
No, we never wait because the progress is continue each race. We study all the time to improve the system, to give the best service and for don't have a trouble.
So you think it can get even better?
Yeah, sure, because the technology for the Formula One is all the time for the future, to improve the system. And we study all the time, also with the television, with the timing, for everything.
Yes, a very sophisticated system there from Longines. And let's see what the Longines timing shows us from yesterday. We remind ourselves, of course, that Gerhard Berger was on the pole with 1:17.227. Alongside him, Nigel Mansell, second fastest, 1:17.938. On the second row of the grid, Riccardo Patrese and Ayrton Senna, then Martini and Modena, Alesi and Piquet, Boutsen and Prost. That's the top 10. Well, we're going off for a short break, and then we'll be back with all the latest news of practice and qualifying. Stay with us on Eurosport. With Michele Alboreto, qualifying has just commenced. So far, no quick times, John Watson, but we are suspecting times to tumble in this, the final qualifying dash for pole position.
Yes, indeed. The only man who's made some progress this afternoon is Ivan Capelli in the Leighton House, and he's not in the race. But so far, none of the people at the front of the grid have ventured out. They're really waiting for the out cloud to pass across, to blank out the sun, to allow the circuit to cool down slightly, because tyres are a problem. They're getting too hot, too early in the lap, and that is preventing those cars being able to go out and do quicker lap times than they were able to do in the slightly more cool day of Friday afternoon. Well, here's a man that's been impressing us all weekend, Piero Martini, just 5'3", driving the Minardi Cosworth engine in the back. I believe they've done quite a bit of their own engine development, remapped the engine management system since the Canadian Grand Prix. They're absolutely delighted with the performance of the engine and the car. We're talking to Piero yesterday, and of course he is looking forward to the Ferrari engines, which will come next year, but meanwhile he's extracting the absolute maximum from this very well-balanced chassis. This team runs about 80 people compared with the sort of 170 staff of people like Williams. So it is really a small, compact team from Faenza in Italy, but they certainly know their racing. The man who owns the team actually is the longest-standing Fiat dealer in Italy, and that's one of the reasons that's helped them get the Ferrari engines for next year. But Minardi was fastest for the first 30 minutes of Friday's qualifying. This is his first flying lap now. Let's see if he can move up from 5th spot. John. Well, he's decided not to move up at all. He's gone straight into the pits. Again, Minardi, Pirelli tires, Martini, they've just got to go out, get a feel for the car with these conditions. The temperature has risen almost 10 degrees from when we stopped this morning, and Martini's like every other driver who are going to go out there to battle for their pole position or for the best grid position they can get. They have to do it knowing the car is at its best. So I'm sure Martini's going back into the garage. They'll put their Minardi up on jacks, have a little talk about it, make some small changes, and when they feel the time is right, and when Martini himself feels ready to go out and do it, you have to prepare yourself. There's a certain amount of striking involved in these laps. He will go out in another few moments' time. This is Gerhard Berger, the fastest man around Mexico City so far. This is the final qualifying session. The minutes ticking away. Gerhard Berger, the fastest in this session. He was the fastest yesterday. He sits on pole position, and he sits in a position of strength, John. Yes, it looks as if this afternoon, the Saturday afternoon qualifying session, is not going to see any significant changes, certainly out of the front of the grid. A few people at the back may claw their way into the race, and a few will slide out. But so far, what we've seen is a track that is certainly half a second to possibly 1 second slower than Friday afternoon, and that is bad news for people like Ayrton Senna, for Piquet. Good news for Nigel Mansell, because he's on the front row of the grid. As we stand, I'm sure we're going to see him going out shortly. Being in the front row, being second or first, really is no big difference, other than purely the pride of the driver and the pride of the team. Gerhard Berger still circulating. Just remind you of the 4 people not in the race currently. Ivan Capelli, Nicola Larini, who's still got a stomach upset, Alex Caffi and Mauricio Gugelmin. So 3 Italians there. They're in trouble. JJ Leto, the man still on the bubble. Berger comes back into the pit. Well, fastest lap in this session to Gerhard. This is Sandro Nannini in the Benetton Ford. Plenty of power coming from that little V8. Ford proving the theory is wrong, that you must have 10 or 12 cylinders to win Grand Prix racing. At least they're hoping to prove it. Yes, they are. In fact, at the next Grand Prix, they have a further phase of development with the V8 engine, and I think principally what it's all about is increasing the RPM of the engine. The engine currently revs to something like 12, a little over 12,000, and I think they're aiming to try and get that up to somewhere like 13,000 revs per minute, a colossal number of revolutions from an engine of a V8 capacity, and if it all works, it's going to be a major rethink, I think, for a lot of the engine people, because if the V8 engine can be made to compete with the multi-cylinder 10 and 12 cylinder engines, the advantages that a V8 has got in terms of the packaging in the back of a car is very much more advantageous. And it may well cause a reconsideration, rethought from people like Honda, Williams, Ferrari, and people coming in the future. Peugeot are making engines, Mercedes-Benz are making engines, Porsche are making engines. It'll be interesting to see what really does happen in 2 weeks' time with this Ford engine. Yes, I think the word that sums up the V8 is compact. Nice compact little motor, lightweight of course. I know, John, you were trying to squeeze information out of Ron Dennis on Friday about engine revs on that Honda V12. Obviously V12's coming up, but the V10 presumably revving well over the 13,000 mark. Well, Ron was reluctant to discuss it, obviously, because the technology that Honda have developed with their V10 engine, they're very keen not to just give out to people like you and me, because we then tell everybody else, and then the rest of the world gets to hear about it. But watching Berger doing that lap, and he was holding fifth gear for a length of time, which really, I mean, I'm saying, well, he's got to take six, he's got to take six. So I assume that they're revving that engine certainly to 13,500, maybe even more than that, close to 14,000. And again, that is the technology that Honda have developed. And just getting the engine to rev, that is only one part of the problem. To get it to continue to develop power is the other part of the problem. And I think Honda are pretty well on top of that. But it didn't really, I mean, I thought Ron might have been a bit bendy and given us a clue. I mean, he is a mate after all. Well, you used to drive for him, John, so you know him better than most. We think we've just had a quick time from Derek Warwick. It hasn't come up on our top 10 leaderboard yet, but I think Derek Warwick was in the 118, which would move him up to about 7th spot. Yes, 118.951 from Derek Warwick. He goes 8th. So one of the few drivers to make a major improvement today, Derek Warwick. We haven't seen his car yet, but this is another of the great British drivers, Nigel Mansell, the man from the Isle of Man. Currently on the front row of the grid with his time from yesterday, 117.9. Today his best so far, 118.3. And what can Nigel Mansell do this time? Well, the clock is ticking away. You can see it for yourselves, the time to remember. 117.9, that's what Nigel is trying to beat, John. Well, I think he's done his one quick lap. This is a cruise back to the pits. He didn't improve. He'll go back again and think about it, see where changes may be made to his Ferrari. Can he improve the car? Or is he saying to himself, well, basically, I don't think the car is as quick as it was yesterday. Certainly the track conditions indicate they're not so fast, and well, we just watched Nigel. He may just be taking it easy, and when he approaches around the corner, may again pick up speed and give it a second shot. But well, he's letting Cappy pass, so I suspect he's on his way back into the pits. 15 minutes of qualifying remaining, and here is a man who is definitely making progress. It is Derek Warwick. Derek has now moved up into the top 10. Happy with the Lotus Lamborghini. During Friday, you felt the car had too much understeer, pushing too much in the corners, but now Derek out on a quick lap. Still a man with a great deal to prove, Derek Warwick. Derek's really looking for that elusive first Grand Prix that he's been unfortunate not to have. And back in '84, when he joined the Renault team, really that was the time of his career when he also been scoring Grand Prix, but of course on reliability and other factors. Yes, it was the Brazilian Grand Prix that he led for Renault and had a suspension failure. He was absolutely romping away with that race. And who can forget when he passed the Ferrari with the Tolman in front of the main grandstand at Brands Hatch. I think it was the European Grand Prix. The whole grandstand stood and cheered him. A great moment for the Tolman team, which has subsequently become the Benetton team. A 119.260 for Derek Warwick. So no improvement there. He's already been in the 118. We go into the McLaren pit. There is the current standings. The 2 days combined. Berger still top of the list, 117.227. Then it's Mansell, Patrese, Senna, Martini, Modena, and Alesi. No change at all in the top 7. Well, this is Gerhard Berger. Just a few minutes of qualifying to run now. And can Gerhard Berger improve on his current pole position? We go in car with him, fighting at the steering wheel. Yeah, down into 5th gear now. This is the back section of the circuit, and I think both his hands are going to stay firmly planted on the steering wheel there. No, he's not. He decided to take 6th. That's unusual. Back into 5th. Holding the car. He holds the car slightly higher in this corner than teammate Senna does, but looks a reasonably good lap. Back into 6th gear. 18.585. Well, he's over a second slower than the time from yesterday, and in fact this is a slower time than his first run this afternoon.
John, the computer showing us that his top speed was 307 kilometres an hour. What does that tell you about his rear wing setup?
It tells you that the rear wing, which you can see just behind his head, is set in a very low downforce position. And that is the reason, or part of the reason, why Gerhard Berger's car has sort of leapt forward by 4 or 5 kilometres per hour. And Thierry Boutsen saying that is now jumped into the 17.883.
Terry Boutsen goes on to the front row of the grid. We didn't see it on screen, but Terry Boutsen, the man that's moving forward now. A new front row of the grid. It's Gerhard Berger and Terry Boutsen. Mansell and Patrese on row 2. On row 3, Senna and Martini.
And as you say, that Ayrton Senna has now come out again on a new set of tyres, and this hopefully is going to be something to watch, because being in the 3rd row of the grid, well, that's a long way back now. I can't remember the last time he was on the 3rd row of the grid. The 2nd row of the grid, Senna, well, he had to see a little car through there. This is Senna looking for, as part of the track that is clear, he doesn't want slower cars around him. He'd be looking in his mirror to see who is catching up to him and judging where he is on the track in relation to other cars, so as he can get the best chance of one single clear lap, the lap that is going to get him back onto his coveted front row position.
7 minutes of qualifying remaining. 7 minutes left for this man, Ayrton Senna, to keep up his astonishing qualifying record this season. He has been on pole position in the last 4 Grand Prix. Will he make it 5? We're going to find out in just a moment.
Yes, well, he's beginning to pick up speed. He's coming up the Terrace, the corner. Not coming into it quite as quickly as he would in a flying lap, but building up speed all the way around, not sliding, and so an exit speed probably actually marginally higher than it would be on a flying lap. On the flying lap, the car is sliding in the corner, swirling around. So on this exit speed, he may in fact have gotten a couple of miles an hour, but he will be able to carry all the way down the straight to the station zone into the right-hand corner, turning left. He said he looks more economical in the use of the circuit than Berger has been. Berger was very, very choppy and sliding around a great deal through there. Senna very much more in control.
Yes, 1:17.227, that's the time he has to beat. Senna on a quick lap. This is almost certainly his last chance to make pole position, to get his 47th career pole through those S's. Very hard work. A big crowd building up here at Mexico City. They love their motor racing. They'd love to have a Mexican Grand Prix driver again. Now on that short straight, and somebody might be in the Paralta to hold him up. There is a car ahead of him, but it's sufficiently far to not get in his way. Into 5th gear again. He was using 6 in the straight like Berger. I think they've changed the ratios from yesterday. Back into 6th, and this is going to be a very good lap. Back in the front row. Back in the front row now, McLaren. Front row Berger still quicker from his yesterday's time, but Ayrton Senna with a 17.670. Yes, Ayrton Senna goes second, bounces Thierry Boutsen back onto the 2nd row of the grid. Let's just recap on the positions as this qualifying comes to a close.
And having just said that, Ricardo Patrese has put Senna back onto the 2nd row of the grid with a time of 1:17.498 in the closing minutes. Excitement now. They've got a yellow flagging wave. Cars are slowing down. There must be some incident, or maybe it's just because of Gugelman's car going very slowly. Senna pulling over, letting the other cars that were on a quicker lap get by. Senna, having just done that lap, being told he's on the front row of the grid, within 10 seconds he was bumped back to the 2nd row by Ricardo Patrese.
Well, their confirmation of the current standings, Berger and Patrese on the front row. Senna and Boutsen on row 2. Then it's Mansell, Martini and Piquet. The closing minutes of qualifying, Nigel Mansell with just a couple of minutes left. He's going for the quick one. Can he get the Ferrari back onto the front row of the grid?
He really held up very badly, one of the 2 Brabhams, which was on a qualifying lap, but he did it without any fear of hindrance to make sure that he had a clear run. This is the last lap of qualifying. When he comes past, I'm sure the checkered flag will be out. Oh, Mansell well sideways there. Absolutely sideways. You can get Formula One cars sliding, I tell you. That reminded me, well, probably reminded you, Andrew, of 1965 when racing cars raced and wheels are probably less wide than those you get on a passenger car today. What an exciting driver Nigel Mansell is. Rallied style opposite lock from Nigel Mansell. On this quick lap, this big attempt in the closing seconds of qualifying to get back on the front row of the grid. Currently it's Berger and Patrese on the front row. Nigel Mansell, again he's sideways. Oh, dear me, he nearly lost the car completely there. This is what might be described as maximum attack from Mansell. Well, he's got quite a few cars in the way. Barilla there, can he slip past Barilla? Into the power alpha now, we'll see what his time's going to look like, but I don't think he's going to improve. 14, 15, 16, 1:17.732 for Nigel Mansell. Mansell failed to improve. No, just a slight improvement, but he's still in fourth spot. Yes, Mansell bumped Jerry Bootson from the second row of the grid back to the third. And that lap, if Mansell had managed to, let's say, make it less exciting for him, I mean, wonderful for us to watch. Car control absolutely superb. But of course, all that sliding around opposite lock has meant that he lost maybe vital tenths of seconds. Mind you, starting in the second row beside his former adversary, Ayrton Senna, prophesies a reasonable race for Nigel Mansell. Their confirmation then of qualifying. This is the way the grid is going to look. Berger and Patrese on the front row of the grid. On the second row, back on the second row, Senna and Mansell after that quick lap you've just seen. Then it's Thierry Boutsen. He was briefly on the front row of the grid, and John Alesi. And then it's Pierluigi Martini in 7th spot. In 8th, it's Nelson Piquet. 9th, Nakajima. 10th, Stefano Modena. 11th and 12th, the two Lotus of Warwick and Donnelly. In 13th spot, absolutely back there, Alan Prost. 14th spot to Chesris. 15th, Barilla. 16th, Nannini. 17th, Alboreto. And in 18th spot, Emanuele Pirro. 19th, Suzuki. In 20th spot, Griard. In 21st position, it's David Brabham. In 22nd spot, Philip Alliot. 23rd, Gregor Wojtek. 24th, Nicola Larini. In 25th spot, it's Roberto Moreno, I should say. And then in 26th spot, the man that's on the bubble that's just got into the race, Eric Bernard. That's if they can get two Lolo Lamborghinis back together again for tomorrow. The four men who have missed out very sadly, JJ Leto, Ivan Capelli, Mauricio Gugelmin and Alex Caffey. So that is the lineup for Sunday's race. Watch it live, flag-to-flag coverage on Eurosport. And now we'll leave you with some of the hot action from the season so far. It's goodbye from John and goodbye from me.